we have this here, correct? Look at this. Most of you at least have the outline done. That's what I've noticed. So the next steps is we have done last week I showed reflect tool, correct? We're gonna keep with the reflect tool because there's no need for us to do two sides. So if you click and drag with your selection tool, and if you don't see your reflect tool, it's underneath rotate. You see rotate here? If you click and hold, there's your reflect tool. Now double click and then copy. Make sure it's vertical. You can preview if you want to and copy. While it's selected and it's highlighted, go back to your select tool again and click on the lines. Do not click on the side of the lines because this is what happens. You lose a selection. So just click on the lines and pressing shift. Look, even if I press shift, you see the difference? Shift and no shift, shift and no shift. Shift helps me align everything.
Shift, does you have it press?
Yeah, press and hold. So let's just put it this way. Let's do it again. Let's just say I put shift. If I press shift and hold shift, if I press shift and hold shift, it lines it up. It lines it up to the next line. And there you go. Done. Now, let's do first things first. I'm gonna add now the top stitch at the bottom, and it's easier just to do it when it's together because it's the hem. So I just do that, and I just copy this one too. But you can see that it's not the same space at the end. Once again, I go to my direct selection tool right on the white one, and I can use your arrows to go in. There you go, done. This is done now. You see that? But now I want to add more pieces. Okay. Before we do that, I decided I'm going to fill this in. I'm going to add more pieces to it. Meaning, if I click these two, actually maybe towards the end, no, we'll do that right now. So if I select both sides together by pressing shift, I make sure if I zoom in, my points are overlapping. Why do I say that? Because we're gonna make it one single object. How do I do that? I go to Windows. I go to Pathfinder. Where are you, Pathfinder? Pathfinder. Right here, you'll see shape mode. What do? You can take away, put it away. We're gonna merge everything together, okay? We're gonna click the little two squares becoming one square. If I click that, do you notice the subtleties? Let me show you. There it is. Okay, hold on a second. I'm gonna show you this again so you can see it. Hide. I don't want, okay. Do you see, shoot, sorry. So then, okay. I want to show you exactly what I did. So then we're gonna hide this again. Hide rulers, not hide rulers, sorry, hide guidelines. Okay. So if I go to view, let's hide my guidelines right now. Clear guidelines, I don't need her anymore. But if I were to highlight, you see that right now I have one separate line and one other separate line, but I want to make them into one. You can see those 2 points right there, correct? If I go to Pathfinder and I find this little box and I click on the box, do you notice that became one? You noticed it, right? Because now, if I zoom out, that has become one. Why do I want it to become one? It's just easier for me to fill. And yeah, you can actually, if they're overlapping and they're two different objects, it won't matter that much. But let's just put it this way. If I want to move things and not worry about grouping and all these things, this is the easiest way. So I'm just gonna make it pink. And this happened when I click on the fill. You know what that means? It means that the objects have been overlapped in different ways. So what I do is put control, arrange, and send to back. Ta-da! That's that for now. Now, I'm gonna be grouping things now, guys. It's gonna be a little bit more, just stay with me. Click and drag, and you're gonna control G. Why? Because look, I can now move it all at once. Hi. I can even, if I were to like, let's just say double check, and I wanna just to like change the color for this. Actually, you don't have to, you can always click with the direct selection tool and only select that color. I can change it to a different color really quickly because I have made it into a group. You understand? Okay, let's bye-bye. So what happens to this now is that I want to add shadows. I want to add all types of shadows. I'm going to show you a shortcut right now that I haven't shown you yet. If I were to draw on top, you guys notice that the pen tool is very sensitive. It will try to catch other lines. Everyone has noticed that, correct? That, okay. What if I told you that you can actually, if you do Command 2 or Control 2, look what happens. You freeze it. I can draw on top now without creating a layer. So going back, if I do Command 2 or Control 2 if you're PC, look what happens. It works in groups, it works in points, it works in lines. As long as you select what you want to be frozen. Okay, so now I'm going to do shadow. So if I click here, I'm going to do the shadow. And I'm just going to draw the line, the inside shape of the neckline. I'm going to take away now the outline, and I'm going to make this gray. But you're like, oh, but it's not merging. Hold on, we're working on it. So if I click this, your opacity that we have been using, if you click on that word opacity, you can put multiply. Done. And you can change it. Look, I created shadow now. Exactly. I want to create shadows. If I were to just not even use the outline, just use the fill, and I just go about creating like curved lines, and I make sure, look, I'm just selecting these two really quickly, go back to opacity, multiply. Now these colors are really strong, so what I can do is just select, like remember, I don't have to worry about selecting my shirt because I froze it. So then that, double click it, and I just change the color. Look how good that looks. Very different from what it looked before. Now you're thinking, can I unfreeze it? Yes, you can. It's by Control 2, Shift Command 2. Wait, sorry, no, Control 2. Hold on a second. There you go. Mine's Option Command 2. That's gonna unfreeze it. So now we can once again make it into groups. And why am I telling you to make so many groups? Because remember how we isolated things? We've been isolating things. So if you double click on a group, look, that's the first group. If I double click again, then I can see what the next group is. Does that make sense? Look, I just separated it. So we have to get used to using groups because we can edit it between the groups instead of, oh, I have to separate it in layers. That's why I keep telling you, do not separate the lines in layers. It's gonna be too hard. There are ways to go about it. If I click it, if I double click it, look, the shadows are not there anymore. But then I put escape, the isolation mode is out. So that's what I want you to get used to now. Let's try to do this, and this will be the homework.